who continues to brag about a cognitive test that was developed to screen for dementia. It's going to be really fun to see how all of this unfolds. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Barry Trump's Nerd Adventures. With me so far, Adam Parkomenko, former DNC National Field Worker and Substack writer at thealtmedia.com. Check it out. Subscribe. It is one of my favorite things. Adam, it's really good to have you here today.
It's good to be here. If there's noise in the background, the dogs are eating bones, so apologies.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that it's a nuclear weapon exploding, but I hope it's the dogs.
We got our power back, and we live in the same neighborhood as quite a few of the Donald Trump folks who previously did some Iran work. So I don't know if that was just a coincidence or what, but our power's back after a day without it yesterday.
Well, it was all those pizzas being made.
That too.
Whatever it was, Papa John's, apparently.
Geo Pizza.
Yes, Geo Pizza. Anyway, I'm having a very hard time with this whole ceasefire, peace deal thing, because if something good comes out of it, it is not going to be because of anything Donald Trump did, because he has been spinning the fuck out. He's been in an absolute spiral since last night, when it seems he preemptively announced a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. We now know he had nothing to do with it. It was Qatar who was the mediator between the two countries. And before anybody complains about my mispronunciation, it's Qatar or Qatar, depending on if you're in America or in Europe. For some reason, I always use the European pronunciation, but I promise you, either one is fine. So Donald's lackeys were there. Rubio was there and Steve Witkoff was there, but it was not anything Donald had anything to do with. And much like the reason he got involved in this conflict, because he saw that Israel was winning and he wanted in on it, he is all ready to take the glory to himself, promising that there is going to be forever peace. Of course, just moments after that, Israel hit Tehran and Iran hit a hospital in Israel. So Donald once again went on social media saying, quote, "The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it." But because nobody takes him seriously anymore, and because Benjamin Netanyahu has gotten everything he's ever wanted out of Donald, including removing us from the JCPOA, and he's a joke, nobody takes him seriously, and both countries continue to attack each other between midnight and 3 a.m. Eastern time. They exchanged missiles again, and each country claiming that the other had violated the ceasefire. So Donald keeps spinning out. He's been all night long posting often and erratically. And finally, as Israel ramped up for another assault, some very sleepy, cranky toddler was intercepted by the press, and this is what we got.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Again, he's always projecting at him. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. But that was very presidential. So finally, he's acting presidential. And I don't understand why nobody is sick of his saying, like nothing I've ever seen before, because if he says it one more time, I'm going to begin to think that he's never seen anything. Now, the simple question is this the person we want in charge of negotiating this situation?
Yeah, and when you said like we've never seen before, it reminded me of the flagpole that went up last week, where he said, I think it's the biggest one, probably not just in the country but the world. And people were saying, have you ever seen one of those RV camp sales locations, which actually have the tallest ones? But I mean, assuming this is quote his deal, I thought a couple things were interesting. One, it was kind of fascinating seeing him come out without a tie and cursing. Like it really seems like he doesn't have his shit together in terms of the way that he normally doesn't have his shit together. But I looked at this as like, oh look, Donald Trump, another deal that turned into a disaster. Shocking, for a guy, as Mary, better than anyone else, who has bragged nonstop about being a quote unquote master negotiator. And he fumbled this ceasefire like a toddler with a hand grenade. And that's the first thing I was kind of thinking of when you mentioned a toddler. I mean, literally, like that's what this is. Maybe if you spent some less time golfing and actually listening to real diplomats, we wouldn't be watching peace fall apart like this, the way that his bankrupt casinos did.
Yeah, and I mean, I would much rather have your toddler in charge. I would feel much safer.
Same here. He's actually really smart.
He's smart, and I'm guessing he is more capable of modulating his emotions.
Yeah, and he doesn't brag about the daycare test that he passed to get into daycare.
I think he should, though, because that's a real accomplishment as opposed to just not having dementia.
Exactly.
So
I mean, I think the other point on this whole thing, which to me is just crazy, is he begged voters to be in this position so that he could avoid prison, right? This is a guy who going into November was either going to be facing time in the White House or time in prison. And he's in the White House. And nobody should be shocked at what we're getting. But the fact that he went in there and said he was going to end 2 wars, and now we're in the middle of 3. I mean, what do we expect out of this guy?
Well, I think, those of us who are paying attention are getting exactly, we're getting exactly what we would have expected. And the way the corporate media is covering this is, of course, egregious. Saying, is it possible that all 3 countries could call this a win, and crediting Donald with doing the right thing or doing the right thing for the wrong reasons or whatever it is. And I feel, I don't want him to get credit for anything, quite frankly. That doesn't mean I don't want there to be peace to the extent that's possible. But I want to see if we can map out a little bit what the potential, or what we think the most likely scenarios are, because, part of the reason Israel attacked these nuclear sites in Iran is because Iran's axis of resistance has been so weakened over the last year and a half, and therefore they don't have any allies to back them up. Hezbollah hasn't fired a shot, and I think that would not have happened a year and a half ago. So that's one issue. However, as I said at the beginning, just because, first, a couple of things. First of all, by announcing on his social media site that he was going to attack them, he gave Iran an opportunity to remove any of the materials they need to build a bomb in the future. And again, of course, you can't obliterate the knowledge of how to build one of these weapons. And whether they're weakened or not, Iran now has even more incentive to build a nuclear weapon, because what would prevent these kinds of actions that Israel took? Having one.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I think Caitlin Collins played that video a couple days ago where she showed every single time that Donald Trump has said 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The fact that he advertised everything that he did gave them plenty of time. It's going to be 2 weeks, it could be 24 hours, whatever. But they knew what was coming or not coming and made a move. I looked at that sort of aerial view. Personally, like, knowing nothing about this kind of stuff, having no military background, I was like, if we were going to do this, couldn't we have at least blown up that little white warehouse to make it look like we did more damage? Like
Right?
little
Yeah.
hole. But the reality is that what you just said in terms of Israel and the weapons, that they have that they don't acknowledge publicly, look no further than Ukraine, in the early 90s, who gave up, I think it was the third or fourth largest amount of nukes, in the entire world. And look where they're at today, right? And everything that's going on is now taking away from that real war that is happening as well. And I think the media failing us in terms of what you mentioned, legacy media, is a really good point, because if you're sitting here and you're watching TV, your first thought is probably going to be like, oh, like we could take them out, take Iran out tomorrow and this will all be over and we're gonna have a change of leadership. But the reality is that, there are missiles that are landing in Israel and striking things like that. They are not, not only are they not dead, but they've got Moscow behind them, they've got China behind them, and there's no shortage of them getting their hands on things. And if anything, Donald Trump may have even put Iran in a position to be handed a nuke that's already built by one of these countries.
That's a really good point. Before this alleged ceasefire, I was trying to game out some potential scenarios, and I think some of them are becoming increasingly likely. One is Netanyahu gets out of it once again, and becomes more empowered. 2, increased danger for terrorist attacks on American soil. 3, increased danger to American troops who were in the region and within striking distance of Iran. I don't see, even if there is a so-called ceasefire or peace plan, I don't see how that prevents any of those 3 things from happening. And another thing,
and if you, to your point, right? We saw it confirmed again today, I think, by the Washington Post. But Netanyahu made this decision last year, right? And we've known about the 8 months of planning and so forth. But what his focus was to try to get Donald Trump on board. And when you put these kind of 2 characters next to each other, they're sort of the same person. It's just one, right, has got a little more self-control and isn't advertising every single thing he's doing, and he knows how to play the other one. And then the other one, is sort of the behind the scenes version of Netanyahu, which is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is saying and doing everything that we know Netanyahu to be. He's a criminal, and the only reason he's not sitting behind bars is because he got back in office.
Yes, they are almost carbon copies, but I think Netanyahu's smarter, which isn't saying much. I don't think he's brilliant, but he's definitely smarter.
And his response to Donald Trump after that strike was literally filmed for one person, and that was Donald Trump.
Exactly.
Just stroking that ego.
And meanwhile, our guy is calling sleeper cells supercells. And actually, there's one potential outcome that we need to keep an eye on, because there's no reason. I mean, it may be possible that the ceasefire holds, but if it doesn't, are Republicans in Congress going to cede even more of their constitutional authority, making this probably the most powerful executive branch in at least modern American history? That's another serious concern I have.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think what makes it a little more interesting is you've got folks like Massey, who on the Republican side want to protect Congress, and what is in the Constitution, and protect Congress's ability to have that decision. And Republicans really can't afford 1 or 2 votes. So I'm not really sure how that is going to pan out. But I think the other big piece of this too is, we're less safe right now as a country, and look no further than those bunker bombs, right? It's been reported, and not necessarily confirmed to the exact number, but there was a belief that there's only about 20 of those left in the arsenal of the United States prior to him using 12. So who knows what's in production right now? And obviously, you know, in a few years, there's a new B2 coming out and so forth. But if we had 20, right, and we have 8 left, we are using things where we shouldn't be using things, and that we may need for this potential conflict.
Yeah, and one other thing that worries me is that let's say, and this would not be a bad thing, so I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad thing. If a ceasefire holds, if there is some kind of potential peace deal, of course that's a good thing. However, I worry that that then erases, just like it may erase the fact that Netanyahu has been committing war crimes in Gaza, that may erase the fact that Donald took this military action illegally and unconstitutionally and in contravention to international law. He contradicted and ignored his own intelligence agencies by claiming his director of national intelligence was somebody he doesn't listen to, and that he just disagrees with the assessment by his intelligence agencies that Iran is not currently actively trying to build a nuclear weapon. And he just like, no, I know they are, just to justify his own desires. So once again, he gets away with everything, and then he could maybe even get a win. And here we are. Makes me crazy.
And I think it makes me crazy. And I think that you just pointed out something that it's been kind of a very weird pill to swallow in the last couple of days. And that is, if the only potential voice that we're hearing in this administration that sounds like they're being honest and telling the truth is Tulsi Gabbard, I feel like we are in a world of hurt right now.
Yeah, the irony of that, considering I think is
I don't usually believe a word that comes out of her mouth, right? But to believe what she's saying, you know, it's kind of like, huh.
Right. What is up with that? And clearly this situation is complicated by the fact that, oh, look who's here. This situation is complicated by the fact that Waj is here. No, that is not what I was going to say. Hi, Waj. Hey. Waj, proprietor of the awesome The Left Hook on Substack compulsory reading. Please subscribe to it. Waj, it's really good to have you here. You'll never guess what we're talking about.
I mean, is it the ceasefire that is holding up so well and the peace and stability that has spread throughout the world?
It is America? The fact that the world is now at peace.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So we can move on because that's right. So let's talk about something else.
And right when you joined, we were saying, is it potentially possible that the only voice that's being honest right now is Tulsi Gabbard? That's really scary.
And think about this. And Waj, I want your
before she walked it back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, of course, because now she and Donald are on the same page. But, you know, obviously, Waj, I want to get your take on the whole situation. You know, just talking about Donald's ridiculous meeting with the press and his use of foul language, which was very presidential, plus the fact that he seemed to be involved in none of this. He just kind of took credit for everything. But getting back to Tulsi Gabbard briefly, you know, as Adam said, the fact that she seems to be the only one until she decided to walk it back, kind of making sense on this. All of this is complicated by the fact that Russia is Iran's ally.
Yep.
Donald is in Putin's pocket. Now
Yep.
they're kind of at odds.
Yep.
Where does that leave us? And I do have to say, I've found it quite alarming because Marjorie Greene, Steve Bannon, Alex Jones, all vile fascists, were actually right about this issue. And I don't know. And the last thing I said before you came on was, let's say there is a ceasefire that holds, or a peace deal, which we should all be relieved about, but it's going to help both Netanyahu and Donald get away with everything once again.
Yes, a lot to unpack. I'm here in Florida. Pardon me. I was supposed to be on vacation with my in-laws. My kids are going to drag me to Magic Kingdom. And I thought that was already the worst timeline. But no, I know we live in the worst timeline in the universe because yesterday, like you, Mary and Adam, I had to throw up in my mouth because I had to agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Steve Bannon, Representative Massey, and Tucker Carlson. Well, last week, Tucker Carlson, he's been quiet as a mouse fart the last couple of days, but his grilling of Ted Cruz was exquisite because there is a MAGA first faction, which I've been following for a while, it does take America first to mean non-interventionism, right? And they're very upset and asking, why is the United States fighting this war with Iran on Israel's behalf, right? And why are we dragging this country and basically the entire world into nuclear proliferation, right? Because think about it. Regardless of what happens, folks, I want people to think about this for a second. If you're a country in the Middle East, Iran, Turkey, UAE, anyone, Qatar, you would sit there and go like, what's the first thing I should do for my country in the next 10 years? Get a nuclear weapon. Because if it's North Korea, guess what? Donald Trump is going to exchange love letters with them. When it's Israel, who everyone knows has a nuclear weapon, free pass to commit a genocide in Gaza and do pretty much whatever Netanyahu wants to stay in power, right? So,
and also watch really quickly, because Adam made such a great point. Ukraine gave up its very large nuclear arsenal in negotiations, and now the rest of the world is looking at them like, maybe that wasn't such a good idea because the United States has abandoned you.
Yeah, why should you? And even Iran, folks, we have to quickly connect the dots. The U.S.-Iran deal by Obama was a diplomatic coup that Warhawks hated until they realized, oh, this was a smart move. Iran, for all intents and purposes, yes, we hate the regime, but Iran was complying with the deal, de-escalated. Donald came in, got dog-walked by Netanyahu, also based on vibes, and because he didn't like Obama getting credit for it, blew up the deal. And what happened as a result? Now, if you're the rest of the world, I cannot trust the United States of America because I saw what you did to Iran. I see what's happening with Ukraine. And those who have nuclear weapons, they get love letters from Donald Trump. So there's going to be a nuclear proliferation war race. Also, gas prices have gone up because there's going to be a long tail to this war, right? The Strait of Hormuz, asymmetrical warfare, violent extremism, targets on U.S. security, U.S. tourists. So, folks, I think this is... Sorry, there's 800 kids behind me. Forgive me. But as far as a lot of children. As far as Putin's concerned, also the focus has shifted away from what's happening in Ukraine. And also the focus has shifted away what's happening in Gaza. 45 people were killed today, again, just to go for humanitarian aid, right? So Netanyahu, the three winners of this war, Netanyahu, the military-industrial complex, violent extremists.
Well, and potentially Donald Trump.
And Northrop Grumman, and a few other companies.
Exactly. And I mean, in terms of Donald, just because, it was illegal and unconstitutional and in contravention to international law. Oh, well, who cares? That's what I mean. So, all right, this is obviously a situation that is going to continue to unfold. We're going to have to continue to keep an eye on it. And we don't have weekends anymore. So I think that just goes without saying. Or vacations. Or sleep.
On vacation.
Or downtime. Or lives.
Can I say one last thing? I know you want to move. One last thing. I wish we had an anti-war party. The lane is wide open, Mary. 85%.
I know.
In my lifetime, in your lifetime, in Adam's lifetime, when do 85% of Americans agree on anything? The YouGov poll that came out 2 days ago, 85% of Americans are against this war. Only 5% are for this war. So you had Representative Massey with Ro Khanna and AOC, put out that resolution to have Congress authorize the war. Hakeem Jeffries was asked about it yesterday. I don't know if you played that clip where Hakeem Jeffries said, I haven't gotten time to look at it.
What is he busy with? I mean, anyway,
I've been saying this from the start too. I believe that Donald Trump getting reelected and the Democrats not responding appropriately is what is going to be the biggest test on this two-party system. I think this is, in other countries, right, like Ukraine, you have different parties and different elections, but this is not going to hold up much longer if Democrats continue down this path.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just want to talk briefly about what's going on at the Fed. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell spoke to Congress today, and he made it clear that the central bank's commitment to curbing inflation, that's what it's for. It's keep prices down, to curb inflation. But he's signaling that they expect to hold on rates until they have a better handle on the impact tariffs will have on prices, because we know that we don't yet know what that impact is, because we're still potentially a few weeks out from the fallout from Donald's insane imposition of tariffs on other countries in including China. So Powell made it very, very clear. Inflation is expected to rise, and the Fed has to follow suit. No matter how many times Donald calls Powell an idiot or the stupidest person ever, he doesn't call him low IQ because he's white, obviously. But, he says he's stupid and he's wrong, and that tariffs aren't going to harm consumers. But I just want to take a look at Representative Maxine Waters, Democrat of California, and Powell, who both refuted this. So let's play the Maxine Waters clip, please.
You said that it may take some time for the tariffs to work their way through the supply chain, but that you found, and I quote, many companies do expect to put some or all of the effect of tariffs through to the next person in the chain and ultimately to the consumer, quote, end quote. So while the president may try to claim other countries pay these tariffs, can you confirm that it is indeed consumers and businesses in the United States that will bear these costs?
So it can be anybody from the exporter, the importer, the retailer, the manufacturer, or the consumer that winds up paying these tariffs. In the beginning, it will be the importer that pays the tariff, but ultimately it will be spread out among those five, each of which will try very hard not to contribute. But in the end, the tariff will be paid. And all of the data suggests that at least some of that will fall, not all of it, but at least some of it will fall on consumers.
See, watch it. It is not that difficult to stick to your guns and do the right thing and not be afraid of Donald simply because he calls you names.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I'm a simple English major, and even I know that tariffs are taxes that are paid by who? The consumer. And furthermore, Donald Trump, who promised all these beautiful deals and peace and strength, and all the countries would respect him, and the war in Ukraine would end. Remember that? And, there would be no new wars, especially war against Iran and Gaza. That will be solved, no problem. And that all these countries would bend the knee and accept the trade deals, right? And no longer screw America. Zero trade deals. Zero trade deals. As a result of these tariffs and the trade wars, right? Prices have gone up. Prices are continuing to go up. Gas prices are gone up because of what's happened with Israel and Iran. Egg prices are still up. And now you want China to come and help you. And China is like, why should I help you, right? They're literally asking China to help. Tell Iran not to, block the Strait of Hormuz, please. China's not going to help you. And we're seeing a brain drain, all these immigrants, the attack on immigrants. Guess who's poaching all our best scientists, Mary? China. Japan, right. Europe. That's another big story people aren't focusing on. China literally saying, Donald Trump and Doge cut your funding for cancer research. Okay. AI, cutting edge technology and AI. All right, we'll match it and give you more money. So it's literally within 6 months, Mary. This is what happens. It's remarkable. When the worst, dumbest people are put in charge, how can things get so bad so quickly? I give you the last 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And potential recession. Now there might be a potential recession in the second half. And all of this was avoidable and preventable. And Joe Biden, for all his strengths and weaknesses, I criticize him when I need to criticize him. I'll praise him when I need to praise him. His domestic policies helped actually lower inflation, and we're taking us towards a path of recovery, and just gone.
But he used an auto pen, so come on.
And so does Donald, but no one talks about it.
Well, why would anybody talk about his hypocrisy? So, Adam, because we're kind of running out of time, so I wanted to shift gears. I thought this might be fun for everybody because we're going to be talking about Robert Kennedy, who may well be the most dangerous of all the cabinet picks because he's in a position to kill more of us. So Kennedy, of course, is Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he was on the Hill asking questions posed to him by House Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Health. He lied a lot. He didn't answer questions directly, but I want to play a clip of one comment he made, which is just so deeply creepy. I think it should raise some red flags about where this all might be heading. Let's play that clip.
We're about to launch one of the biggest advertising campaigns in HHS history to encourage Americans to use wearables. It's a way of people can take control over their own health. They can take responsibility. They can see, as you know, what food is doing to their glucose levels, their heart rates, and a number of other metrics as they eat it. And they can begin to make good judgments about their diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. We think that wearables are a key to the MAHA agenda, making America healthy again. And we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
Awesome, Adam. So we can track our temperature as it spikes when we get COVID and measles and polio from not having been vaccinated.
Yeah, Sam Youngman and I were just, talking about this actually before I came on, because I saw that you had this on the show today, and he said he was pretty shocked that the ex-junkie who was cheating on his wife during last year's presidential campaign lied about vaccines and everything else. It's like you can't trust anyone with a brain worm anymore.
Isn't that just such a shame?
Or a guy, who goes swimming in a pile of shit with his kids in between McLean and DC. And spends the rest of his time in tanning salons in Cleveland Park. I think it sort of speaks for itself, but as I've said before on your show, he's killed before and he's going to continue to kill again.
Yeah, it is not just baby bears who have to look out, or whales, or whatever. He keeps killing all sorts of creatures. He's coming for us. And the idea that Donald and Kennedy are going to have unlimited access to our biometric data, it's just, it is a bridge too far. This is getting increasingly, what's the word I'm looking for? Dystopian.
Well, can I ask one thing? Because at the
Sure.
start of the show, just before Waj had gotten on, you were reading Donald's latest Truth Social post, and one of the things he said was, and tell me if I got this wrong, but I think he said that he needed to take a look at AOC's test scores.
Yes, he did.
Like he's just gonna pull them up on a computer.
That's right. He is just, I'm pretty much.
So that's sort of in line with this other data, and everything else here.
Yeah.
Well,
Meanwhile, we have no access to any reliable data about his health, psychological, emotional, or physical.
Yeah. And I'm still waiting to find out when Barron is going to be deployed,
And
Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Wash.
Speaking about data, Palantir, breaking news, kind of breaking news, that Stephen Miller, they just found out, has $100,000 worth of stock in Palantir, just released about 20 minutes ago. Palantir, if you don't know, is Peter Thiel's company, which has a contract with the Trump administration to literally create a centralized database, right? They're going to get all your data, and now we're going to have Palantir create a surveillance state, right? They're going to use up all your data. They're going to spy on you. They're going to use it for deportations. They're going to use it for private prisons, right? All of that data is going to be scooped up by Palantir to create a surveillance state.
And the exact number wasn't confirmed yet, right? I think they said six figures. The last that I saw was somewhere between 100,000 and $1 short of,
a million, right?
A million.
So tracking everyone, why this is so terrifying. Well, first of all, do you want to be surveilled by your government? Number one. Number two, they scoop up all your data. Who are they selling it to? Number three, what are they going to do with that data? The RFK also is into eugenics and said he wants to create a registry for autistic people who he said was useless. Who else created registries? Nazis. Also, who loves registries? Stephen Miller. Why? Because they're unleashing ICE to go against all, not just undocumented people, just brown people, right? So with all this information, right, imagine what a fascist totalitarian state can do with your data. Registries, who they can sell this information to, the highest foreign bidder, what they could do with surveillance. And Palantir, literally one of the most evil companies, now has a massive contract with the Trump administration. And now we know, wink, wink, corrupt as F, Peter Thiel, of course, we already knew was corrupt because Peter Thiel was one of the co-founders of Palantir. But now Stephen Miller has stock options. My question is, who else has stock options with Palantir? Who else has?
Well, just imagine, right? Because it was only a month ago that maybe a little more that Marjorie Taylor Greene had bought stocks for the first time, and we learned that, right?
Yeah. And that's why Democrats really kind of should have maybe passed the Congress. People should not be able to buy stocks or whatever. They didn't do it. So I know.
Yeah, if you're watching right now and you have a primary in your state this year, ask your Democrat whether or not they want to get rid of trading, because there's a bunch of Democrats in Congress who do not support this. And if they have a primary and they have an opponent, you got an option.
Great segue, because speaking of primaries, it's primary day in the New York City mayoral election. It's extremely hot. I voted, so I had to take a shower because I think it's like 105 degrees. I think for the first time, because it's been a while. No, I actually voted in the last one, but I think this might be the first time we have ranked choice voting, which I am a fan of. So that's when I think there are 7 candidates. So what you do is you put a 1 next to your preferred choice, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, so on. You don't have to rank all of them. I didn't, because there are some people I don't want in office, and I don't want to vote for them. So, Waj, we have, you could say that this is an extremely significant primary. One, because it's New York City, and New York is a very powerful city that has a lot of influence, not just over the state, but on things that happen in the rest of the country. We are a sanctuary city. We are going to be heavily targeted by ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. We also have one of the most corrupt mayors, a Democrat, so-called, in New York City history, Eric Adams, who is not running as a Democrat. He's running in the general election as an independent, which is problematic. So we need a very strong candidate. And yet, the candidate who was leading, although it became closer, is Andrew Cuomo. And part of the reason, one, he's leading because of name recognition. He was the governor of New York State. He was the governor during COVID, and he got a lot of positive attention for that. He has shown himself to be willing to confront Donald and not shy away from such confrontations. But he got a lot of endorsements, like Bill Clinton, who didn't think it was important enough to come out and talk about the dangers of fascism in America, came out to support Cuomo. And yet,
I'm just going to say
Zoran
something so
Mamdani is a
everyone
34
doesn't say.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm interrupting you. I was just going to, I should say something. Otherwise, everyone's going to say, oh, the Clinton guy didn't say anything. Self-control is not exactly his strong suit. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. So the endorsement shouldn't surprise us, but if you're, Bill, if you haven't said anything about anything else, maybe just keep your mouth shut. Anyway, Waj, Zoran Mamdani is a 33-year-old Democratic socialist, progressive, back him, and he's actually making this a contest. So, I'm a little worried that the heat is going to suppress turnout. I don't know who that benefits, though. I think people who support Mamdani are more excited about him than people backing Cuomo, but I'm not sure. And I'm sorry to say, well, I want to get your take, both of you. Like, if you've been following this, who do you think not just is the best candidate, but the strongest candidate in a general?
I think it's very important. I'm glad you're focusing on this, because there are 2 intersections of.
Look,
and she
one,
voted.
I voted, and
I'm
2,
so happy. There's 2
I'm a
intersections.
New Yorker.
This is a temperature for America, I think, this race.
Yeah.
Because first and foremost, you have seen the entire establishment, and by the establishment, I mean power, the 1%, come out with all of their cannons fired against Zoran Mamdani. Bill Clinton comes out. You had Lauren Summers come out admitting, I'm not an expert on New York, but I know Zoran Mamdani is going to be terrible for New York. You have Representative Clyburn come out. They pulled on Clyburn to try to get the black votes, right? You got Bloomberg come out. You have Wall Street, the Wall Street bros came out, right? You have AIPAC coming out. And then on top of that, you have some of the most obscene racist ads that I haven't seen since, 2010, 2012, with the war on terror, going back on Islamophobia, darkening Mamdani's skin, thickening his beard, the saying that this man born and raised in America who's not Arab or Palestinian simply because he has a Muslim name is going to bring about the global intifada. The intersection of both of this as it's happening, as the war in Iran is happening, right? As you're seeing the genocide in Gaza, as we're seeing the war on terror, right? The long tail of the war on terror, where Donald, of all people, what did he do against Barack Obama? He might be a Muslim. I'll take him at his word. The birther conspiracy, Sharia. I think Islam hates us. And Cuomo now, during the NBA Finals, has spent that money to just straight up engage in just the most nasty, ugly, racist, hateful, terrifying ads against Mamdani. Why? Because he represents a threat. What's the threat? Here's a democratic socialist who does not come from the establishment, who's bucking the corporate trend, right? Who's not coming for the 1%, bringing together the grassroots, and he might actually shake shit up. That's the reason why they hate AOC so much, and that's the reason why they hate Zoran Mamdani so much. And when it comes to the other officials, right? There's people like Brad Lander, New York City comptroller, right, who was arrested last week, Jewish American. He's cross-endorsed Zoran Mamdani, vice versa, because of ranked choice voting. Michael Blake.
But what's wild, Waj, is that no one knew he was running when he was arrested or after he was arrested, because he didn't politicize it in the way that you normally would. It wasn't like a campaign event, right? But if he came out and was talking about his race, I watched that and I posted it and I thought it was amazing. I didn't know he was running until like 36 hours later. I'm like, this guy's running for mayor.
Yeah, it was a really missed opportunity.
And they're cross-endorsing each other. And so the last thing I'll say is they're cross-endorsing each other, which is showing you is that the Avengers are coming together and saying their final pitches. Obviously, if I'm Brad Lander, rank me number one. If I'm Michael Blake, rank me number one. If I'm Zoran Mamdani, rank me number one. But they're all saying no to Cuomo. And I think this is important. You see the entire establishment, including Bill Clinton, get behind a sexual predator, get behind a corrupt man whom the DNC kicked out 4 years ago. They would rather, what I said, and this got a lot of traction, is that the establishment, the 1%, the powerful, would rather burn New York City down than let Mamdani or AOC have a shot.
Right. And just really quickly before I turn to you, Adam, if you want to know that we are giving you accurate information, look at what Tish James has to say about what they found out, the determination they made about the accusations against Andrew Cuomo, and you'll realize that the establishment endorsing him is yet another slap in the face. Anyway,
I hate to compare the two, right? But like this is not Al Franken, okay? And to me, what is most interesting about the Bill Clinton endorsement is, and I've thought a lot about this, is there's two people from his administration, from the Clinton administration, that there was never really a good relationship with, like no strong relationship, at least post office. Like these worlds were not the same. And that was Andrew Cuomo and Bill Richardson. And so this isn't Andrew Cuomo picking up the phone and saying it would be my guess. It would be him picking up the phone 100 times, right? And then maybe some other people calling saying like, this needs to be done. Or it's the first call because of what Waj said, right? And the establishment is that nervous. I can't find any other. Bill Clinton doesn't owe Andrew Cuomo anything, right?
Nope.
Obviously, Mario Cuomo, and the name back in the day and all that kind of stuff. But Cuomo was there in the administration and reaped a lot of benefits from Bill Clinton. Why Bill Clinton would do that, I think, would only be to sort of Waj's point.
Yeah, I agree. So whatever the case, I know it's hot. It's brutal out there. Please go vote. This is very, very important. New York City is absolutely terrible at choosing mayors. New York State is absolutely terrible at choosing governors. Let's get this right, please. We are the best, greatest city on the planet. We deserve a mayor who represents the awesomeness that is New York, our diversity, our caring. And I know people have a misapprehension about New Yorkers. New Yorkers are the kindest, most decent people you will ever meet. They are not patient. So we come across as brusque sometimes.
If it goes sideways, look no further than like a Murkowski, right? You can always write in your favorite candidate with a coordinated effort in November, and it can be done. It can be
This
won.
is a bellwether race, folks, because
it really is.
It's a temperature for the nation, and if the establishment will meet the people. And so far, the DNC has not met the people. What they've said is, shut up, get in line. And if Mamdani wins, oh my God, folks, the cannons, the lasers will be, you're going to see full-scale blitzkrieg against Mamdani. Not against Donald Trump, but against Mamdani.
But,
not space lasers.
We can do it. So I'm going to end it there just really quickly. Want to thank people. We have Anna, who's a new member. Welcome. That's awesome. Lizzie Beth, thank you so much. Who says, where's the bomb that didn't land? Still up there? Yeah, probably. Because, that's what Donald would say. Sheila 3444, a super sticker. Thanks so much as always, Sheila. That's great. Um,
Can I give you some breaking news?
please.
Just came out in New York Times last 5 minutes. Classified findings indicate that the strike only set back Iran's nuclear program by a few months.
Shocking. Yeah, that's what happens when you attack a site that's built inside of a mountain. Anyway, Jules plays Taps for Vets. Thanks so much for that comment. I finished E. Jean's book last night. It was brilliant. I bought the book and listened on Audible. She's so funny, witty, expressive, and so strong. She really appreciated your chocolates. I gave her chocolates after the trial. I loved it. Good. I loved it too. Everybody should go get E. Jean's book. I did a phenomenal interview with her that is being posted tonight because I cannot do the live tonight. So check out that interview with the most awesome, badass E. Jean Carroll, who has more courage in her little finger nail than, well, Donald doesn't have any courage. So scratch that. Anyway, she's one of the bravest people I've ever known. Sheila Archer, thank you so much. Your comment, thank you. No, thank you. That's awesome. Kendra Super Sticker, thank you as always. Jeffrey, thank you very much. Comment, love what you're doing. Keep telling the truth. We will, because we all understand how crucial this moment in our history is. We're not going anywhere, although the nerds may be changing time yet again, but we're going to keep you posted. We won't be here next week anyway, because I'm going to be out of the country. I'll be talking more about that this week. So I will not see you for Mary Trump Live tonight, but I'll be back tomorrow night, Thursday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Keep checking out our pre-recorded videos, and please follow Waj and Adam wherever they are. These guys are doing phenomenal work individually, collectively, and they deserve to be followed and supported in any way you can support them. So Waj Ali, Adam Parkomenko, it's so good to see you guys. Thank you for being here, and we will see you soon, just at a different time, and I will be telling you more about that soon. All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, everybody, please stay cool, stay safe, and be kind.